Somebody touch my soul. Yeah. Somebody pray to me, Jesus. Somebody touch my soul. Somebody touch me. Somebody touch me. Somebody touch my soul. Yeah. Somebody pray to me, Jesus. Somebody touch my soul. Somebody touch me. Somebody touch me. Somebody touch my soul. Yeah. Somebody pray to me, Jesus. Somebody touch my soul. Somebody touch me. Somebody touch me. Somebody touch my soul. We could do that. We could do that all day, all night. Because we are the PNM. Party chairman, deputy political leaders, general secretary, other executive members of the People's National Movement, mayors, chairmen, councillors, and most importantly, 141 party members who are our standard bearers into the next election in the nation of Trinidad and Tobago. I would like to begin by confirming that of the 141 PNM standard bearers, every single one is a volunteer. We have offered no one an inducement. We have paid no one a fee. And most importantly, we have made no one a promise. This is the People's National Movement. You would have heard today about the process that we've used. You would have heard about the many who came, and you would have welcomed the selectees. Ladies and gentlemen, elections are important. Elections have consequences, and the people of Trinidad and Tobago know that more than any other. Why are we here today? This special convention of delegates, some supporters, and party officers reporting to the party. It is this arrangement, through a legal commitment and a constitution, that caused us to be here, functioning in our 68th year. How many of you in this room are 68 years old or approaching 68? And God forbid, may not get. This PNM, which those who are jealous of our existence and our success speak as though they could have been. We have defeated almost 70 political entities in this nation. And all we can say to all detractors, form them and bring them. Name them and bring them. The PNM will deal with them. We have been on this assignment of wanting to modernize local government. I served in a party, in a parliament, with a very distinguished local senior councillor, a fellow called Gerard Furness-Smith. He was one of the better parliamentarians I learned from. I learned how to do a number of things in the parliament from Gerard Furness-Smith. But Gerard Furness-Smith had a position, a point of view, that local government had no place in this country. It is too small, it is too confusing, it is too complicated, and all we need is a clear government, central government with ministers and ministries, and local government was really superfluous. That was his position, that was his idea. But other people have different views. There are many of us, including the PNM as an organization, we believe that if among our communities that house our 1.4 million people, if in those communities, as we say now, we have 14 of them in Trinidad, if we have local arrangements where it is largely management, because local government is really local management. Everywhere you live today in this compound, you've come from all over Trinidad. And all of you know that we in the PNM say that if we have local management through local government, you can improve the quality of life in your community. We all know that. And this is not something that has come to us in the PNM for an election campaign, as some of our detractors would say, most disrespectfully and most hypocritically, that the PNM is campaigning on local government because it's the issue they think they can win an election on. I'm doing this because I'm continuing a journey and keeping a commitment that this party has made to this country a long time ago. It took us a long time to get to a point like this, where the singular issue in a local government election is whether you support local government or whether you oppose local government reform. It's as simple as that. Distill right down to that. I know there are those who want to talk about an IMF program, petro-chin, crime, Tobago separation. All of these are topics we can talk about for the rest of our lives as long as they exist. I've seen the document put out by those who've been misbehaving for the last 3 years, but an election has come and they put out a print. And the print is that they now have a paper to put out. And on it, it says that, oh, the others have only been bad talking people, talking about themselves. Have no plan, talking about themselves. Have no program, talking about themselves. Disturbing the country's unity, talking about themselves. They're putting that out now as an election campaign only for the season. By the 15th of August, they will figure that done. But we have not forgotten them. But since that is their campaign, that this local government reform which the country is being asked to take a stand on, I want to confirm to the country that the PNM does not act in a Vicky-Vi manner. You heard here today on a number of occasions how many things we've done, what we've been committed to. But let me tell you about local government. When we set about in a PNM era, under a PNM administration, to do something about modernizing local government. I'm sure when I came up with this set of documents, you all thought I'd come here to talk about these. If I start to talk about these, the contents of these, you'll be here until tomorrow morning. But I brought them to convince those who talk and write that they exist. These are the documents that brought us here to be campaigning on support local government or vote against local government reform. Let me just quickly go through them for you. I brought these from my library. The National Development Strategy 2016 to 2030. Now, our political opponents will not understand this. You know why? They demonstrated it to the country. I was Minister of Planning and Development and given the assignment by Prime Minister Patrick Manning when he won the election in 1991 to bring together not just PNM people, but the talent of the nation, and to design and bring before the country for adoption of a Vision 2020 document. In fact, people who served in the other political parties were part of that team, and we produced a vision. It came in documentary form in paper like this, and it was on CDs. For anybody who wanted to read, anybody who wanted to research, anybody who wanted to talk, it was all there. And just as those things were available, and the country now started to follow that program, we lost the election in 2010. You know what the UNC did? They dumped all of it in the dung heap in the beacon. Would you believe that? But we should have known then, because they didn't come into office to deal with that. They come into office to empty the treasury. I was in Balize House when a call came from down in the ministry, and one of the clerks in Bally's house took the call, and the person said, all you come down for all your thing because we're throwing it away. The person came to me and told me what it was all about. I said, well, listen, we can't hold all of it here. Get a few copies. Let's keep it for our library and for all times. We have a few copies still and a few of those CDs still, but the rest of it was dumped. The Vision 2020. You know who was on that committee? Winston Duker and Bo Tiwari and PNM people. It was a national effort, but that didn't mean anything to them. So when we came in 2015, September, by 2016, we started again to put things together in plan form, documentary form, and here it is, National Development Strategy 2016 to 2030, and you see in brackets there, Vision 2030. Many hearts, many voices, one vision, October 4th, 2016, because the government of Trinidad and Tobago, made up of serious people from a serious political party, was doing serious work about a serious problem, coming for a serious transformation. So when we talk about government, local government reform, this is the foundation we're talking about. If you had time to go through there, and you see it says here, on every page, draft. Draft. Because it was worked from a position of initiation to finality. And then, of course, here it is, the end product. Vision 2030. There are people who want to talk in this country, want to write in this country, want to run this country. They wouldn't read a page because they believe that ignorance is strength. But of course, the PNM doesn't do that. We are responsible. We ensure that when we take a position, it's a position that because of the way it has been arrived at, it has a good chance of success. And then here it is. This came from the Parliament. Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, first session of the 12th Parliament, report of the Joint Select Committee appointed to consider and report on the miscellaneous provisions, Local Government Reform Bill 2020. So this was in the Parliament in a Joint Select Committee. Needless to say, those from other parties did not support it. But as history would show, because the PNM arrived at these positions in the way I've just described, in a sane and sober manner, and do what is right, even though there are some voices saying no, we got it passed in the Parliament with the PNM vote because you, the people, gave the PNM enough votes to pass it with the PNM support. That's what you've done. And here it is. 330 pages arriving from this one. Report on local government reform consultations. It wasn't a Balize House rum shop reform one night, you know. This was not Monday night for rum, you know. This was the work of ministries and ministers over a period of time involving the Parliament, involving the country, involving consultations. And here it is again. This one is 85 pages, a synopsis of the consultations. So if you want to be a commentator on this, whoever you are, get yourself familiar with these documents. If you don't follow the Parliament proceedings, and all the writers, he say, she say, he say, she say, and call that what? There's one that wrote in the paper today. You could see the rum coming off the page. So I brought them to show you and to tell you and to tell all of them that local government reform in Trinidad and Tobago being campaigned upon by the PNM in front saying, yes, let's do this. As Isasha says on the song, let's do this. Local government reform time has come because we have worked. Patrick Manning, Hazel Manning, Frankie Khan, Kazim Hussein, these are all ministers who worked on this. And today, as we were moving slowly towards a transition to it, we were hustled into the election. By the way, tomorrow is nomination day. And there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And as one of my teachers used to say, in relation to exams and students who were late, those who don't have teeth will gnash their gums. Because, you know, call the election, call the election, call the election now. Call the election, call the election, call the election now. That was the mantra. Because while the PNM was doing this work and preparing the country for this decision, they were only interested in election and office. And of course, the election is called. Tomorrow is nomination day. They have no candidates. So when that was upon them, they start to appeal to people who have no members. And tell them, let's form a coalition again. And let's see if we can fool the people again and just get elected. But what? Assuming that they can get elected on August 14th. On August 15th let me carry on the same way. And? But if you elect the PNM, this work, these roots, this tree will bear fruit. And we will do so with the confidence that we arrive at our positions going forward because of the rectitude of the cause, because of the good sense that went into it. We are not operating by guess. We are not operating vai-ki-vai. We have tilled the soil. We have looked after the field. Now the fruits are available, but it requires a climb. We got to climb over the hurdle on election day, and every single citizen have a responsibility. If you're too busy to vote, if you don't like local government election, you are leaving the decision into the hands of others. If you do not support the PNM, you are supporting the opposite to the PNM. And the opposite to the PNM is chaos. It's as simple as that. The country is still a free country. And nobody will stand in your way. We realize your freedom. They want me to bring in foreigners to look at the election. We said that we have not been in the habit of bringing anybody here to look at local government elections or THA elections, and we're not starting now. We welcome people here for the general election, and we will do that. But the point is, you are free to come out on August 14th. We are inviting all the citizens to come out and take a position on local government reform. What is local government reform? Local government reform is an assumption that you know what local government is right now. Local government right now is, you have councillors who are largely underpaid, councillors who are part-time doing full-time jobs. You have councillors with electoral authority but have no executive authority vis-a-vis the public service, because the relationship with the public service sees from a practical standpoint that it is the CEO who really carries out the operations. You also have councillors who are in corporations that do not have a revenue stream, and they wait for sporadic handouts from the central government. Well, of course, the central government gets its revenue sporadically as well. And monies go to local government from central government depending on what is in the treasury at the time. We don't have a surplus budget going on continuously. In fact, for the last many years, most times, we are running a deficit budget. So the Minister of Finance, whoever he or she is, sending money to local government is a low priority in some months or in some weeks. Sometimes they need the money today, but the Minister of Finance is sending it next week. So if you have your own revenue stream, you can manage yourself better. You can take a situation where, because I have a constant revenue stream coming, which I am in control of, I can do small things, like I can keep our roads clean. I can keep our secondary roads maintained. I can do services that the government is now doing at central government. I can offer to do that, and the central government will fund it in local government. Let's take an example. Every corporation in this country has a primary school or 10. Those schools have to be maintained. What is the role of local government in maintaining a toilet in a primary school in your district? Why was somebody from Moruga have to wait for somebody in Port of Spain to give a clearance to fix a non-functioning toilet in Moruga? Why couldn't that be a responsibility of the local authority? And the more local government demonstrate that they can deal with responsibilities, then you can do the secondary schools as well. You're currently doing the small playing fields, but we do have some significant investment in sporting infrastructure in many of the corporations. Why shouldn't they be in charge of it? If they are in fact prepared to be full-time officers handling full-time responsibility. Why? Because somebody's saying, whatever is going on now, as bad as it is, leave it so. Local government, every local government body is responsible for picking up garbage. But the management structure in ensuring that that is something that goes on in an authorized and well-monitored way is not there. Because it's somebody else's responsibility somewhere to deal with a contract awarded somewhere, and we have to tolerate the contractor. That's what's going on. So what we are asking you to do in local government is take responsibility for your local district. And that involves electing serious people, honest people, qualified people from a political party, whatever that party is, for whom political responsibility is a serious business. That's what we're asking you to do. Will you not do that for yourselves? You go to the local government office and you tell them you have a mosquito infestation, a rat infestation, a snail infestation. They can't answer you, can't tell you nothing. Because the first thing they will tell you, we don't have this and we don't have that. We don't have this and we don't have that. What they don't have is a will, a resource base, and a responsibility sheet. This local government reform is saying we're going to make the giant step and make that change and change the quality of life in all our districts across Trinidad. Join us in doing that. And while there were many people for whom local government election is a nuisance, I want to invite you all today, if you are a responsible citizen, to treat this local government election as a different one because something big is on the table. You don't vote for it. You don't vote for it because you don't support it, that's fine. But if you don't vote for it because you don't care, then you're saying that all this work that you paid for was a waste of time and you prefer to have what exists now. How many of you in this audience are either councillors, chairmen, or worse, ministers of government, who you get calls in the middle of the night or early in the morning when you go anywhere, and people come to you with local government issues, telling you about a local government that is not functioning? How many of you? We point out to you that it was so in Tobago up to 1979. Tobago got a THA in 1980 as a result of the parliament intervening after strong political representation, and since then Tobago, through the Tobago House of Assembly, has had the role of being responsible for a piece of this country with a revenue stream and with all kinds of rights and responsibilities. Why don't you want that for Trinidad? It's 40 years now we've been saying though, and when that was passed in the parliament, Dr. Williams himself said to the country, as the PNM signed off on that bill that created the THA in 1980, he said, we are going to do this in Tobago, and we see how it works, and then, if we are satisfied as we expect to be, we will bring the model to Trinidad. That was 1980. It is now 2023. 43 years ago. And you have people come telling you what local government reform they're talking about. Trying to dismiss, because you have done nothing. Because you have used your nights for debauchery, to party, and have done nothing. Those of us who work during the night, when the dawn has come, and we are about to step out confidently into the future, you try to disparage it. I'm saying to those persons who don't normally come out for local government election, come out and take a stand on local government reform. Come out on August 14th, go to the normal polling station where you normally vote, and in every one of those polling stations is a well-selected, qualified PNM candidate, and put your X by the Balizi. If you have never voted for the PNM before, for all kinds of good reasons according to yourselves, on this occasion, let's find common ground, hold our hands together, and change local government in Trinidad. Let's do that. You see, I have no fear about leading the cabinet that I lead into taking this decision, because I know it was arrived at after a sound approach. The consultations put meat on the bones, put an understanding to the issue. But let me take you down memory lane to comfort anybody in this country, not only here at Napa. I want to comfort anybody in this country who believes that the PNM only makes major decisions when it is popular. Sometimes we make decisions when there's a minority loudly opposing it for all kinds of reasons. Where do we start with that? Let me take you down memory lane of that. Let me start with Dr. Williams, our leader, party leader and country leader, being in the forefront of advancing federation in this region and speaking about a Caribbean nation. The PNM was in the forefront of that. There were people in this Trinidad and Tobago, especially here in Trinidad, who wanted no part of that. And was very happy when it failed. But I keep reminding people in this country and in this region, what a nation we would have been in today's world if the Caribbean Federation from the north of the Bahamas way down to the south of Guyana on the Brazilian border was our nation, one nation, involving all that is now CARICOM. What about that? Didn't have division. Some didn't have division, but the PNM had it, but we couldn't bring it about. We couldn't bring it about, so we ended up independence. And there were people in this country who were opposed to independence. And if you don't believe me, go and read The Guardian before independence, go and read it from the archives, and read what went on in Marlborough House in London when the talks almost failed. It came that close to us not getting independence, because there were people in this country who were opposed to independence for all kinds of reasons. Many of it was fear, and most of it was an absence of a vision for a future. If you don't believe in a future, you will never go on the ocean. If you don't believe in a future, you may never go to college. If you don't believe in a future, you may never get married. You have to believe that tomorrow will be different and better to take a decision like marriage. And then, of course, when the federation failed, we had to find something else, because that federation would have been a nation, border to border, all of us is one inside of it. We ended up with CARICOM. And I could tell you, next week, this nation, the one in which the Chaguaramas Declaration Treaty was signed, there will be a recreation of that moment 50 years later. Because 50 years ago, on July 4th, we decided to do the next best thing, having lost the Caribbean nation, to have CARICOM. And CARICOM has been there, and it's been a struggle. It has been a vision for some. It has been an annoyance to others, but it has been a benefit to all the people of the 13 days. All of it. But Eric Williams, Burnham, Errol Barrow, Bradshaw, they all had a vision that we can do better and we can be better and we're stronger together. Next week, a number of world leaders are coming here to celebrate with us the success, the golden anniversary of CARICOM. I invite the nation to celebrate with CARICOM, because CARICOM is important. It's important. Don't let these things pass without knowing what they mean. Without CARICOM giving us the market that we have now and control for manufactured goods, many of you in this audience and across this nation wouldn't have a job, because our manufactured products couldn't compete against others from the outside. CARICOM protects your job, it protects your family, it protects your future. That's what it is. And if you don't believe me, go to Barbados, go to Jamaica, go to Dominica, and look at the shelves in their market and see made in Trinidad and Tobago. And ask yourself, if those produce couldn't get into those markets at competitive prices, what would the production in Trinidad and Tobago be? And I want you all to think, because there are people in this country who believe that you don't think and that you're stupid, and they could tell you any nonsense and tell you, call the election, call the election, call the election. It's not about the election. It's what you do with the authority that the people give you on election day. That's what it is. I am the first person in my family who went to high school. I have 5 brothers, all brighter than me. Not one of them set their foot in high school. I'm the last one. Dr. Williams and the PNM came just in time to provide free secondary education. And there were those who said he was crazy. That did not find widespread acclaim. There were those who said he was crazy. How you could pay for that? Huh? But before that, Dr. Williams said if there was no money, we got to find a way to get some money and use the money to develop ourselves. PAYE, pay as you earn. You earn a little bit, you pay $1. You earn a bit more, you pay $10. You earn a lot, you pay $100. PAYE. That gave this country a little pool of money. And Dr. Williams had a vision that that will grow as the country grows. And today, hardly anybody in this country makes an argument that PAYE is a bad system. But at the time when the PNM brought it forward, it was opposed by people in this country because they have a habit of not supporting something good for the future. They always want to preserve the present. So whatever is going on in the present now, those who benefit from it will say, leave it so. You go up and ask Simpson and Belgrove, they might very well tell you COVID should have gone a bit longer. Because whatever is happening, somebody prospering by it and it served that purpose. But you have to see beyond that. Even the UNC and the parliament could not see that there was a need for us to fight a pandemic and to come out of it alive. They took us to court 60-odd times, and they took the doctors to court. They lied about it, and when vaccine became available to protect you, they said, don't take the vaccine. You understand? So when you are doing good things for this country, don't expect everybody to agree. You have to be like the PNM. You have to know that there's a sound basis for the decision, and when you take it, it will work to the benefit of all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We had 2 refineries in this country. Shell had one in Point Fortin, and Texaco had one in Pointe-a-Pierre. Shell closed theirs, closed the door, jump on their boat, and they leave. Nobody cussing the PNM over that. Shell refinery, Shell gone. When Texaco was about to go, so serious was that, because that was the bigger one. And it was, we're now independent, and you have that responsibility. What do you do with the economy? The fact that Texaco boardroom took a decision to close down refining in Trinidad at that time couldn't be our decision here in Trinidad and Tobago. So what happens? The PNM bought it. We didn't have money to pay for it, but we needed it. We paid a part in cash and a part in product. When we announced in this country that we're going to pay $75 million for a refinery, the argument here was PNM again, going and buy some old refinery for $75 million, and they were not supporters of it. But the PNM did it, and as fate would have it, it had worked well for us, even up to this day. We got what the unions were calling the commanding height of the economy, because when oil price moved from $3 to $5 to $120, it was ours. And it educated many of us. It provided opportunities for many of us. And those who were opposed to it, come and tell the PNM today, don't restructure it. Leave it so. Well, the PNM does not leave things so. We fix problems where they exist. So we bought it without their support. We operated it for their benefit. And when it was time to prevent it from bankrupting the country, thank God there was a PNM in office again, and the PNM fixed it. And today, we are safe and sound with Heritage making a profit. And of course, Pioneer providing us with fuel. And if it is that there's improvement to come, we did not end up being bankrupted by the company that owed billions of dollars it couldn't pay. He intervened. Of course, in the sugar industry, because it was oil and sugar, in the sugar industry, all the companies, Tate and Lyle and all them were going because growing sugar for profit had become unprofitable and unattractive to the owners. They were closing it down. What happened? What did the PNM do? Not the country, the PNM. The PNM intervened and bought up all the sugar companies in 1975 and created Caroni 1975 Limited. It spawned political opposition, but it kept them employed for another 25 years. From 1975 to 2000, 25 years. We got an extension of the sugar industry, but by the time we got to 2000, the markets had disappeared in Europe and in the United States, the subsidies had disappeared, and the industry had to close. Of course, politicians on platforms saying, the PNM wicked, the PNM wicked, but they will never tell you it was the PNM that bought the private estates and created Caroni and gave us 25 more years of sugar. Some of them even go as far as to accuse the PNM of racism when they talk. They didn't say a word about race when PNM bought it so they can have 25 more years. But when the economics killed it, they invoke race. That's how Trinidad and Tobago is. That's how it is. I could tell you, in the financial area, I was in the cabinet when Workers' Bank and NCB, National Commercial Bank, failed. It took a PNM government, which had supported the Workers' Bank, to intervene. What do we do when the Workers' Bank fails? Those on the other side opposed to the PNM, not agreeing to anything, when we created FCB, $330 million we spent to bring NCB and Workers' Bank and the Cooperative Bank together to create FCB. You know what their position was then? That we are throwing good money after bad. But the PNM, under Wendell Motley and Patrick Manning and yours truly and Ken Valley and all of us, we decided we are going to go at it again to ensure, because we believe in this country and we believe in the people of this country. And today, the FCB is one of the best banks in this country and the region. And you think they end there? They're still doing what they do best. FCB goes to Jamaica and buys a business to expand this business. They come in the parliament and lying on the company and trying to undermine the company's business. One goes to Ghana and is doing well out there in the private sector. I hear them saying nothing. But FCB goes to Jamaica and Wade Mark and in parliament lying about what went on. It's commercial business. And as for the unit trust, when that was to be formed, you think they lined up and say, yes, sir, do that? No, they were opposed to that too. The same way they're opposed to local government reform now, because they're always opposed to anything good for this country. They don't have the vision. All they're concerned about is election day and winning election and going and abuse the authority that they have. That's what they're about. They could not support unit trust because some felt it would threaten their hegemony, it will threaten their comfort. Today, unit trust has over 700,000 accounts. It's the most widespread of people ownership in the country. And you know who fought and brought that to being in this country? The People's National Movement. One of my colleagues here was an engineer around when this project was being done. The Mucurapo foreshore. I don't know how many of you remember what that was like down there. It was a seafront swamp. All traffic used to go through St. James. And it was like going through hell every evening and every morning to pass through St. James. There was no other way around. If we build a road out to the sea, on the seafront, and link it to Wrightson Road, and bring it out down in Cocoa Reach, that will do. Take it for granted now. They opposed it. It had cost $30 million. And as far as they're concerned, that was a waste of time. I distinctly recall seeing an article in the papers, it is the most expensive mile of road in the world. But if you're building through swamp, you're building through mangrove, you have to do this drainage, you have to do all kind of fancy work to get the water from above to pass through the road to go into the sea. It must cost some money. Had we not built it then, today it will cost $3 billion, according to them. But at the time when it was built, it was the PNM that had to get it done. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been done. Today it's taken for granted. Taken for granted. And of course, in Tobago, the Claude Noel Highway, the singular road in Tobago of any consequence, built to international standard. I was there when political opponents were inviting their supporters to lie down in front of the bulldozer to stop the bulldozer from working, to stop the building of the Claude Noel Highway. Look, I want to ask yourself, why? Why? But it doesn't end. It goes on all the time. They live by opposing the PNM. We brought to Tobago the option and the opportunity to have a sandals project in Tobago. Our political opponents killed it. But today they're trying to invite people to build a hotel in Kilgren Swamp. You understand what I mean? Had they not done that, there would have been a sandals project today operating in Tobago. And you know how sandals advertise their many properties around the region? They advertise it as sandals. The planes, the booking, the demand, the quality, sandals. So wherever there's a sandals, people who like sandals, all-inclusive beaches and sandals, they go there. And Tobago would have had its share. One of them told Sandals' family, don't do it now, come back when I'm chief secretary. Well, he reached as far as deputy chief secretary. The next thing we see him, he had no foot to walk on. You see, I tell you this, so I want you to know how to take the opposition to local government reform. They oppose everything because they believe if it comes to pass, the PNM will get the credit, and their singular objective is to defeat the PNM. When they call for a party to come and meet and join them, the only thing the party has to do to join their coalition is to be a hater of the PNM. And they all hail friends well met. What is your policy? What is your program? What is your vision? That's not important. Just hate the PNM and come. But you, the people, are smarter than that. Because on every occasion that these policies and programs were put up and defended by the PNM, you are the PNM. You are the ones who defended it. You are the ones who say yes. You are the ones who are not benefiting. You are benefiting. You know, we got to buy 2 ferries to link Tobago and Trinidad across that 80 miles of water. You think after 2 years of what we were going through, hell, economic disaster in Tobago, political opportunity for them, you think they would have said a kind word or a good word about the ferries? No. They contact Australia, write the opposition in Australia to tell them to stop Malcolm Turnbull and Keith Rowley because we're involved in corruption and they mustn't get the ferry. They ignored them. They wrote the Attorney General in Australia to do that. Who are these people? Where they come out? Why they so? You would think that they're seeing development and benefits for the country. All they're seeing is opportunity for their political selves. And I'm saying to the population, you have to be more discerning than that. And to see that you have no interest in that. Your interest has to be, does this work for the country? If it doesn't work for the country, then we are quite open to you saying, I don't agree. And don't agree is a good position to be because the PNM is not perfect. We can make mistakes. Examine what we are going to do. And if you have an argument against it, make the argument. But don't come and tell me, I hate the PNM and that is a good reason not to support a program. If the country follows you, what do we get? I see them putting out documents saying that their record, they hear us using the word record, and saying their record. Vote for their candidates of strange behavior and their record. The record of the UNC is nothing to be proud of. Nothing to be proud of. They are the party of Section 34. That alone should disqualify them, where you use the parliament to encourage criminals and to give them a pass. You sit here, you saw the government winning in a foreign court almost $1 billion from people who took our money improperly. Has anybody in this room or in this country heard the UNC say a word against that kind of behavior, against the behavior of those people? No. Keep looking for opportunity to give them opportunity to escape the court. That's what they're about. And talking about their record. What record you have? I can stay here today and point out all the big things PNM did in this country. You know, as I'm talking to you now, it's not everything the government is doing we talk about every day. We try to focus. But one of the things we're doing right now is receiving and treating with an arbitration where the Chinese company that was going to build the aluminum smelter, which was stopped midstream, is now pressing its claim legally for $300 million US. They talk, and for us, $300 million US is plenty money. When I went to China, I deliberately did not treat with this matter. And the Chinese authorities were gracious enough not to raise it during my visit. But now that the years have passed and we have not settled that claim, it is now a legal matter. And the lawyers, which don't come cheap, the lawyers are talking. We have serious exposure. It may not be 300 million, but it is certainly, at the end of the day, something substantial. It takes your government to deal with that. Not those who had the Drummond Summit to stop the project, even though the big power station was already built. We had surplus power built there and waiting. They stopped the project. Gone to court. The court didn't stop it, eh? The court said the EMA must redo something with the CEC. And then the government changed. It is the government that stopped it. And you know who was in the government, who was leading that charge? Kamala Prasad Bissessa, Anil Roberts, and a handful of people who don't mean this country well. That is why today we don't have an aluminium business. And when I keep talking about diversification, that was a major direction of diversification for this country. Moving away from oil and gas into aluminium and byproducts, even produced like pots and pans and motor car wheel and things. That's where we're going. They stopped that. Ask them what they did in the 5 years in government to replace it. They didn't even deal with the contractor and the fee. It now falls to my government to deal with that. The current Attorney General, he's dealing with that. A claim for hundreds of millions of US dollars because the contractor had done some work, had bought equipment, has liabilities which they could defend in the court. What is our position? The next time you see Kamala Prasad Bissessa and Wade Mark and the UNC, ask them what we should tell the contractor who they stopped down in La Brea, who is now demanding that they collect the money. And the same people are still around. It would have been bad enough if different people under the name UNC had come and we say, okay, this is a reincarnation. It's the same people. Today you look on this stage, I could tell you I sat down there this evening and I could not be more proud. I looked at the next generation of the PNM. You would have seen young people like you have not seen before. What you have not seen is their qualification. I sat with them for days and nights and examined them one by one. That is the best of Trinidad and Tobago available on a PNM platform on election day in a local government election. The others can't tell you that, can't show you that. I could tell you though, as the Americans are there trying to give us lessons on human trafficking and what to do and what not to do, that's for another day. Nobody in the PNM would have been on our screening committee if you were under suspicion of human trafficking. Nobody. So you could imagine You go for screening in that party, and that individual asking you questions, and you're saying to yourself, what authorizes you to ask me anything about anything when I know you for what you are? That's what it is. You have to ask yourself sometimes, what will Trinidad and Tobago be without the People's National Movement? And when you spend all your life in opposition, defending criminals, creating opportunity for shysters and carpetbaggers, lying about things, you end up now in a local election and have to put out a document of lies. You know the opposition has a document that they prepared and circulating that is opposing an inheritance tax. And I simply want to ask today Mrs. Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, who is the first person here talking about that, where in God's name did you get that from? A document, a statement, an intention? Where did the UNC get it from that we are pursuing a line to introduce in this country an inheritance tax? And in case they want to say it's not there, it's on page 5 of the document. It's on page 5 of all the document. Putting that there to mislead the population that we are tax crazy and we are going to introduce an inheritance tax. So if you inherit your grandfather's property or your mother's house, you have to pay 25% of the value in taxes. So it's trying to incite you against the PNM. It is a lie. And the same thing, they're talking property tax. If property tax is reintroduced into this country as it should, and it would be, it is because they, in 2015, through the law in the parliament, through the mouth of Larry Hawaii, the Minister of Finance, they ended the amnesty and the law came back into force. We are not introducing property tax. It has already been introduced. It is the law. So when we take an oath of office in the parliament after we won the election and say we are on the Bible or the Gita saying that we're going to uphold the Constitution and the law, that oath says that we are going to carry out the law as it exists in property tax. That's what it is. But these lying people trying to give you the impression that we are tax crazy and we are introducing new tax and creating tax like inheritance tax to thief your head. What they did, why the tax has not been collected so far, is that they went to court fighting the very same law that they said comes into force. And the court made a ruling that we should do a new tax rule. And that is what Minister Imbert and his team at the Ministry of Finance has been fighting with for the last few years, because it takes years to create a new rule. And you can't collect the tax unless half of the rule has been dealt with and valuations for half of the properties in the country. So they throw a spanner in the works, and then they're asking you, why the bicycle not going nowhere? After all these spokes bust out. But it's the lies I can't take, it's the lies, it's the lies, it's the lies. Public policy cannot be based on lies. You can disagree if you wish. You can advance opposition to it. You can advance alternative positions, but to lie and it tells us more about yourself than it tells about the policy. Ladies and gentlemen, where are we now? We are the day before nomination day. That is the day when 141 PNM and many others will go to the Election and Boundaries Commission and commit themselves legally as offering to represent you in the 141 districts. I have every confidence that most of those who came on here this afternoon as your candidate will be successful by getting the majority. But I also know that this politics and this saving of Trinidad and Tobago cannot only be done by those who win a seat. Every single person who came up and volunteered to be a candidate, from Ecclesville to Sandy Grande, from Diego Martin all the way to Cedros, every volunteer who came on this stage this evening is a winner because they decided to participate in the electoral process. And where the majority in their neighborhood is not of PNM support, if there is one voter in that district that wants to cast a vote for the PNM in support of the PNM policies, that is victory for that individual. That's how we see it. And that is what makes the PNM strong. That is what makes the PNM whole. I don't know if you saw what I saw this evening. I have been saying for a few years now, starting with the THA election 2 elections ago, saying to the population, we have invested enough in our young people, and we'll continue to invest more, as a matter of fact. But young people, come forward and take responsibility for this country. What you saw on the stage this evening is an answer to the people's national movement from the young people of Trinidad coming forward to take care of local government. And I have heard the preacher say, mine eyes have seen the glory of the Lord. I have seen on this stage this evening parliamentarians, and only time will identify them. It might very well be that somewhere on this stage this evening is a Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Time will bear that out. And I say that in the full confidence that the history of the PNM is of that nature. Because I too was an unknown name until the party brought me forward. Today we brought forward 141 volunteers. I want you to stand and give them a round of applause. Tell them you know them. Tell them they represent you. Tell them wherever they are, as long as they're wearing that red, as long as the symbol is the balisé, as long as they say PNM, as long as they have come forward as they have done, the future of this country is secure. And it's secured not only on their deeds, but on our organization, with our constitution, and therefore we can say proudly and confidently, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail.
Family!